How about Thursday, ladies and gentlemen? Thursday, your high will be 81 and a low of 61 with low clouds. Friday, your high will be 78 and a low of 59, sun and areas of low clouds. Saturday, your high will be, guess what, Robert, 82 and a low of 62, mostly cloudy. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, on your Sunday morning, you have a high of 81 and a low of 60. A couple of showers are possible. And that's your forecast for this week.
Today in history. Today is Monday, February 19th, the 50th day of 2018. 315 days left in the year, and this is President's Day. Today's highlight, on February 19th, 1968, children's program Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, created by and starring Fred Rogers, made its network debut on national educational television, a forerunner of PBS, beginning a 31-season run. In 1473, astronomer Nicholas Copernicus was born in Turin, Poland. In 1881, Kansas prohibited the manufacture and sales of alcoholic beverages. In 1915, during World War I, British and French warships launched their initial attack on Ottoman forces in the Dardanelles, a strait in northwestern Turkey. The Gallipoli campaign that followed proved disastrous for the Allies. Birthdays for today. We'd like to wish happy birthday to one of our listeners, Louise Mitchell. Happy birthday. And singer Smokey Robinson is 78. Art musician Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell is 70. Actor Stephen Nichols is 67. Author Amy Tan is 66. Actor Jeff Daniels is 63. Talk show host Lorianne Crook is 61. Actor Leslie David Baker is 60. Singer Seal is 55.
Seal?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah, 55.
Wow, he's good.
A few years younger than I am. Actress Jessica Tugg is 55. Actress Justine Bateman is 52 long. Actor Benicio del Toro is 51. Actress Bellamy Young is 48. Pop singer actress Haley Duff is 33. Actor Luke Pascalino is 28. And applause, Cameron Thomas Connolly of Laurinburg is named to the honor roll of the academic dean at Morris Hill University for the fall 2017 semester. Cody W. Gilbert of Duncan was named to the honor roll of the academic dean at Morris Hill University for the fall 2017 semester.
Okay, do we have any birthdays for today, Mr. Bean? I was out.
Oh yes, it was Louise Mitchell.
Happy birthday, Louise. Okay. Mr. Bean, we're getting ready to do our day break. I need to know. Number 1, Gospel Explosion. Grammy-nominated contemporary gospel singer Ricky Dillard and his choir will perform March the 17th at Fayeville State University. Gospel Explosion. The concert is scheduled for 6 p.m. in the J.W. Seabrook Auditorium. Tickets are $25 for the general public, $20 for alumni, faculty and staff, and the military. Tickets may be purchased at xtip.com, and that's at the auditorium. For more information, call 672-1724. How about this? We have a lip sync showdown. Tickets are on sale for Fayeville's Ultimate Lip Sync Showdown, scheduled for March the 24th at the Crown Center Ballroom. A social hour begins at 6 p.m. The show starts at 7. Proceeds benefit the Child Advocacy Center. The local celebrities will battle it out for the title of Fayeville's Ultimate Lip Sync Star. All right. Guess what? Audience participation determines the winner of the People's Choice Award. Tickets are $50 per person for standard table seating and $75 per person for the VIP table seating. Tickets are available at Cape Fear Tix, that's TIX.com, or at the Crown Box office. For more information, go to CACFFed, that's FAYNC.org.
Are you going to perform?
Hey, I thought that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, James Brown. It has a nice ring to it.
You know what? They will have to check it out. Maybe he'll come back, make a comeback. Hey, number 3, Go Red for Women's Heart Event. Okay. The Southeastern Health will host a Go Red for Women's Heart event at Biggs Park Mall in Lumberton on February the 28th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The event will feature a display of red dresses and a presentation on women and heart disease in the center court at noon. A presentation on women and heart disease in the center court at noon. Complimentary heart heavy hors d'oeuvres will be provided, as well as free giveaways at the health screening for blood pressure. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have my glasses, so please forgive me if I... Cholesterol and blood sugar checks will be given. The event will include booths with information about women's health, cancer prevention, breast health, fitness, heart health, wound care, and more. If you need more information, call 486-3500. And Mr. Bean, you're up.
Public safety. Cumberland County arrest. Reese McLaughlin, 17 of the 600 block of Bluestone Lane, was charged Saturday with 2 counts of breaking and entering of a motor vehicle, 1 count each of misdemeanor possession of stolen goods. Bail was set at $5,000. Yanya Jasonir Otterson, 18 of the 700 block of Marble Court, was charged Saturday with 2 counts of breaking and entering of a motor vehicle, 2 counts of misdemeanor larceny. Bail was set at $5,000. April Shani McLucas, 33 of the 3500 block of Nebula Drive, was charged Sunday with robbery with a firearm or dangerous weapon, second-degree kidnapping, conspiracy to commit robbery with a dangerous weapon, and failing to appear in court. Bail was set at $25,000. Nakia Len Williams, 29 of the 5500 block of Livingston Drive, was charged Sunday with habitual larceny and misdemeanor larceny. Bail was set $5,500. Stephen Gregory Fraley, 37 of the 7000 block of Roslyn Farm Road in Hope Mills, was charged Sunday with 2 counts of possession with intent to sell or deliver a counterfeit controlled substance, found counts of selling or delivering a counterfeit controlled substance, and 1 count each of possession with intent to sell or deliver a Schedule II controlled substance, selling a Schedule II controlled substance, and delivering a Schedule II controlled substance. That was set at $30,000. Break-ins. 2500 block of Gary Street was reported at 10:12 a.m. on Saturday. Electronics and food were taken. And the 300 block of Edinburgh Drive was reported at 12 p.m. on Saturday. A jewelry box was taken. Students making a difference. They work with community organizations to help fight hunger and to aspiring entrepreneurs. This week in Sunday Live, meet several local students who are making a difference in our community. Ayla Ray, age 17, she's a junior at Grays Creek High School. She is organizing a Book Bags of Food initiative to provide meals to needy children at about a dozen area schools. And why she does it? I don't like sitting around seeing people go hungry. I like seeing people go through that, especially when I have the means to help.
Grays Creek Water Report on agenda. Cumberland County Commissioners are expected to approve financing for a report Monday that will estimate the cost of running water lines to homes with private wells that are contaminated with the potentially carcinogenic compound. The move will be the first formal step toward providing water to the Grays Creek area, since tests of some wells shows elevated levels of Gen X. The chemical, which is used to make a non-stick coating on cookware and in other products, is made at the chemist plant, which is in Bladen County off NC 87 near the Cumberland County line. The compound has been linked in animal studies to several forms of cancer, but it isn't known if the effect is the same in humans. The state started investigating Gen X in June after news broke that researchers had reported the previous year that they had discovered the chemicals in the Cape Fear River downstream from the plant. Gen X has been detected in more than 250 private wells around the plant. including 151 that have a level higher than the state's provisional health goal of 140 parts per trillion. The Commissioners' Finance Committee voted unanimously Thursday to spend $129,330 for the preliminary engineering report. The Fayetteville Public Works Commission, which likely would run the water lines to the area, has agreed to pay half the cost of the report. Commissioners have expressed concern over whether people in the Grays Creek area who do not have contaminated wells will want water lines. Residents in the area handily voted down a referendum on the issue in 2011. The report is on the consent agenda for the Commissioners' meeting, which means it is likely to be passed without discussion unless one or more of the Commissioners wants to talk about it. Commissioners are expected to simply vote on changes to a contract with the company providing health care to inmates at the county jail. The revision would allow Southern Health Partners to provide mental health services from last month through June and increase the amount of county is paying the company. County employees have been providing mental health services through December. Commissioners voted in June to privatize health care at the jail by awarding $2.45 million contract to the company, which is based in Chattanooga, Tennessee. County officials say the move has saved the county more than $200,000. The Commissioners' meeting is scheduled for 6:45 p.m. in room 118 of the courthouse. Staff writer Steve Devane can be reached at sdevane@fayobserver.com or 486-3572.
Jump fulfills Dad's 70th birthday wish. Rayford. Stephanie Tyndall didn't want to jump out of an airplane Sunday. Her love for her father became her fear. Her 70-year-old dad says that's what he wants for his birthday. You say, okay, she said. Tyndall asked his daughter and his son Brad to join him for tandem jumps at Skydive Paraclete XP at Rayford Airport. It's on my bucket list, Tyndall said. On tandem jumps, the skydivers are hooked to an instructor. Tyndall had done tandem jumps 3 times before. Neither his son nor his daughter had. Brad Tyndall was excited. His sister wasn't. Stephanie Tyndall said her father told them about his wish around Thanksgiving. Her response, "You want us to do what?" she said. Joyce Tyndall, Rick's wife, and Brad, and Stephanie's mother, wasn't surprised by Brad's response to the request. "I don't know of anything he's afraid of," she said. Stephanie Tyndall agreed. "He's the daredevil, and I'm the sort of daredevil," she said. "I want to be a daredevil, but I'm kind of chicken." Before the jumps, Stephanie said her stomach had been in knots earlier but felt better as the time approached. "You know when you get to the top of the roller coaster, that excitement level," she said. Stephanie said her father had told him that he wanted to be the last one out of the airplane. He said he's making sure that Brad and I go before him so he knows we win, she said. All 3 got on the plane and took off and headed out of sight about 1:48 p.m. Friends and family started scanning the skies. 12 minutes later, the plane appeared high over the airport. Shortly, small dots could be seen leaving the plane. Before long, multicolored parachutes appeared. Several single jumpers hit the ground while the Tyndalls were still far above the landing zone. Brad Tyndall touched down about 2:07 p.m., followed by his sister and his father. Brad Tyndall said they jumped out of the plane about 13,000 feet above the airport. The parachutes were open at about 6,000 feet, he said. "It was awesome," he said, just after the jump. "I loved it." His father and sister walked up a couple of minutes later. "She said she's not going to do it again," Rick Tyndall said. Stephanie Tyndall confirmed the statement with a smile on her face. "I wasn't as scared as I thought I'd be," she said. "I only screamed once." Rick Tyndall was happy with his birthday present. "Everything went great," he said.
Learn proper etiquette for calling 911 troubling matters. Cumberland County Emergency Services joined the National Emergency Number Association last week to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the first 911 call. The first emergency call using the 911 number was in Fayeville, Alabama on February 16, 1968, and 911 became the national emergency telephone number for the United States the same year. As we join the nation in marking this historic occasion, I want to remind residents of our commitment to rapid, effective emergency response through an accredited 911 call center staffed by trained, experienced, and dedicated operators, said Emergency Services Director Randy Beeman. Though no one ever wants to call 911, there are things you can do to help in the emergency response if you do experience an emergency. The 911 dispatcher is the first person a caller encounters. You can help them by knowing your location as accurately as possible. Try to stay calm and don't panic. Let the 911 telecommunicator guide you through the call. Remember, the questions asked are necessary in order to get you the right help as quickly as possible. Be prompt and brief in your answers. Learn more by watching a brief video about 911 call etiquette on the Cumberland County YouTube page at youtube.com/user/Cumberland County NC last year. The Cumberland County 911 Communications Center was designated as an accredited center of excellence for emergency medical dispatch by the International Academics of Emergency Dispatch. The county center has 40 employees and handles more than 19,000 medical dispatch calls annually. The 911 Communications Center handles calls for the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, Hope Mills, and Spring Lake Police and Fire Departments, Cape Fear Valley Mobile Integrated Healthcare, and all fire departments in the county. Master Gardeners. The Cumberland County Cooperative Extension Master Gardener Volunteer Association will present the annual Spring Symposium on March 24th at the Cooperative Extension Center located at 301 East Mountain Drive. The event is open to the public. There is a $50 fee to attend. Learn NC State University approved horticulture practices for gardens, lawns, and landscapes. Guest speakers include author, columnist, and TV gardening program host Velda Rushing, artist and author Preston Montag, and teacher horticulturalist Reed Arthur. For more information and to register, go to jotform.com/mastergardener1/registration 2018. Cumberland Update. Tonight, Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Meeting begins at 6:45 at the Judge E. Morris Broswell Cumberland County Courthouse, located at 117 Dick Street in room 118. Watch the meeting live at co.cumberland.nc.us. John Scholes is the Public Information Specialist for Cumberland County Government. You can reach him at 321-6579 or jscholes at co.cumberland.nc.us.
Monday Moment. The Monday Moment highlights everyday slice-of-life happenings in the community. If you have a story idea, email news@fayobserver.com and put Monday Moment in the subject line. Today's Monday Moment, Life Behind the Spotlight by Thomas Cook, staff writer. If you've ever found yourself in the spotlight at any of the Crown Center's 3 venues, chances are it was Raymond Toller who singled you out for stardom. The 57-year-old Fayeville native has worked behind the scenes at the Crown's facilities for nearly 30 years. He's been a part of shows across the state for much of that time, including concerts by major acts such as the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, and Metallica. He's worked ice shows where he was responsible for 400 cues or assignments in a 90-minute production. It's a long run for a part-time job, but it's something Toller continues to enjoy when he's not tending to his business, Chargio Safe and Lock. Has a vast collection of crew shirts he's been given by performers, plus several hundred backstage crew passes that hang on a door in his home office. I used to work just about everything that came in the building, Toller said as he watched the crew cover the Crown Coliseum ice rink with boards in preparation for a monster truck show. Like on a wrestling show, you may come in at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning when the trucks arrive, work till 2 or 3 in the afternoon, then take a break. You're back for a show call at 5 or 6, work till 10 or 11 on the show, then it's 3 or 4 hour out after the show before you're done. Those days are long and my money's made in that white work van out there. I'll probably be doing more of this kind of thing when I get tired of riding the road in that van. Toller's primary tool is a 200-pound Super Trooper follow spot, and he's used one of them since the Crown Coliseum opened in late 1997. It can hold 6 gels that he uses to add color to the white light when needed. A main bulb costs more than $6,500, or about half the price of what a used Super Trooper costs. For events such as Fayeville Marksman ice hockey games, he's usually freelancing his shots once the scripted pre-game festivities conclude. He often works solo and he constantly scans the crowd for something unusual to spotlight. And much like a disc jockey, he gets requests. Every once in a while I'll get people who will come up and say, "Hey, I'm going to ask my girlfriend to marry me," or something like that, and want me to put the light on them at a certain point, he said. We try to find people doing little odd things once in a while. Catch a couple of kids way up in the corner smooching and making out, and we'll surprise them a little bit. I've hit people that are dancing, and all of a sudden they dive down behind their seat and disappear. His favorite girl is running what's known as a truss spot, when she climbs a rope ladder to the top of a lighting rig, clambers around the aluminum structure, and takes a seat that's mounted near a spotlight. It's one of the rare times when people realize that he's part of the show. Nothing in the world like walking out 10 to 15 minutes before the show, full building, and you climb a 20 or 30-foot rope ladder to get up to the truss above the stage, he said. The crowd is going crazy because they know the show is about to start. And that's when he puts the spotlight on them. Staff writer Thomas Cook can be reached by emailing tpope@fayobserver.com or by calling 486-3520.
Pinehurst Police ID Rip Victim. Police have identified a 91-year-old man killed in a 3-car accident a few blocks from his home Saturday. Lawrence Shoemaker died when the Cadillac he was driving was hit in the side by another Cadillac and a Mazda, according to Pinehurst Police. The accident happened about 4 p.m. on NC 211 at Murdochsville Road. Firefighters used a hydraulic rescue tool to pry open the driver's side door of Shoemaker's car to get him out. Paramedics began CPR and other treatment. Emergency officials called for a helicopter, but it was canceled while it was on the way. Shoemaker was taken by ambulance to First Health Moore Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the emergency department, officials said. There were no other injuries. Billy Marks.
Inside politics. Sit-in figure urges blacks to join GOP. Civil rights pioneer Clarence Henderson visited Fayetteville on Tuesday to encourage black voters to join the Republican Party and to encourage the party to welcome black voters. Henderson, who in 1960 was part of the sit-in movement in Greensboro that desegregated retail store lunch counters, is the president of the North Carolina chapter of the Frederick Douglass Foundation. He spoke before the Cumberland County Republican Women's Club. The Frederick Douglass Foundation seeks to grow the ranks of conservative Christian black Republicans, Henderson said, and it has had success. The Democratic Party is most afraid of its conservative blacks, Henderson said. He also discussed the lunch counter protest at the Woolworth store in Greensboro. Henderson was not one of the Greensboro Four who started the protest on February 1st, 1960, but he joined the effort on its second day. There's not a person in this room that has not had defining moments in their life, Henderson said. Defining moments are not unusual. It's what you do with those moments. That's what defined you. For 18 years, every time I went into Woolworths, it defined me. Because I went in and saw downstairs 2 water fountains, one saying colored and one saying white. There were separate bathrooms, he said, and no one was doing anything about it. When you went upstairs, everything was equal except for the lunch counter, whereby we as blacks had to go to the rear and order our food to go, even though it cost the same amount, Henderson said. So the question becomes, why or when do you get sick and tired of being sick and tired? He said. The protests rapidly spread across the country. Woolworth desegregated its stores about 6 months later. It was 176 days of people sitting down to stand up for freedom, Henderson said. Elections website. Cumberland County Board of Elections has a new website address to make it easier for the public to remember and easier to type into a computer or smartphone. The address site is electionready.net. That is far shorter than the official address, which is co.cumberland.nc.us/departments/election-group/elections. The elections office is following in the footsteps of the Fayeville Police Department. And the police department for years has used bethebadge.com in addition to its longer address of fayetteville.nc.gov/government/city-departments/police. Submit news and announcements for the weekly Inside Politics column to insidepolitics@fayobserver.com. The submission deadline is Thursday for publication the following Monday.
In the opinion section, the Observer's editorial, Bragg budget. Expansions are good economic news. The economic development conversation around here generally goes like this. We've got to bring more non-defense industry into this region because we really can't count on Fort Bragg. The ups and downs of the federal defense budget can kill us, as they have in this time of recession and then sequestration, the mandatory annual federal budget cuts. But the downs are gone and the ups are back. And for a little while, anyway, we can celebrate Fort Bragg's growth. It feels good. No matter what kind of new industry we get here, it will never replace what the Post puts here. At least 54,000 soldiers, a large support staff, and billions of federal dollars every year. Even in the decade of economic troubles, the Post was by far the economic driver of this region. That's never likely to change. And neither is Fort Bragg likely to disappear. The last round of Bragg pretty much dispelled that persistent local fear. Bringing a 4-star command here sealed the deal. The arrival of Forces Command from Atlanta signaled that commitment. More now than ever, the Post earns its Pentagon South nickname. And now 2 things have happened that are cause for optimism about at least the coming decade, if not much, much longer. The sequestration, which is dead, slain by Congress, which actually passed a budget and substantially increased military spending, some of that new money is coming here. More is likely in following years. There's nothing but good news in that. The Post is about to get several new or expanded units, one of which has been identified and others that are waiting in the wings for formal approval and announcement. Deputy Garrison Commander Justin Mitchell told the Regional Land Use Advisory Commission last week that the Post is in the running for a new unit that would add more than 800 soldiers, pushing troop count up to about 55,000. He likely was talking about the new 2nd Security Force Assistant Brigade, whose formation was announced 2 months ago. It will have about 850 soldiers when it's completely staffed. And Mitchell says 2 other groups on the Post are expected to grow substantially too in the near future. That likely means more construction funds coming this way. in addition to $42 million for construction in the budget Congress just passed. The post is also hiring more civilian guards to man the gates at Fort Bragg's entrances. They're replacing the soldiers who perform guard duty in the leaner fiscal times that appear to be coming to a conclusion. We're waiting to see how the new budget will affect the defense contractors who once were a large presence at the post, but whose numbers have thinned considerably since the recession and budget sequestration jolted the defense spending across the country. Those cutbacks weren't a roadblock to military campaigns in Iraq, Afghanistan, and elsewhere. Those missions were fueled by contingency funds that were exempt from sequestration. But many missions here were badly disrupted. And with those wars winding down, training, resupply, and repair will be a major theme. All of this is good news to the region around Fort Bragg. It will solidify our economy and likely fuel its upward progress once again. We still need those non-defense industries for the economic diversity that will provide. But for people who worry about the trajectory of this area's economy, it's okay to breathe a little easier now.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University. Signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. Request your support to continue our services. In making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our address is P.O. Box 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at area code 910-672-1600 or toll free at 1-844-709-5656. The radio hosts are
Evelyn Simonette
and Robert Queen, and we are proud to serve you today. Meet your neighbor, Jay Robinson. Scotchman store manager has fun at work. Jonathan Robinson was blessed with a beatific smile that goes with his personality. Customers seem to love him. Perhaps it's an appreciation of that engaging demeanor and well-timed dropkick humor. People tell me that I come here just because you're here, he said. I come in and you're smiling and I appreciate that while I get up at the crack of dawn. He laughs at the thought. There's just something about him. This Westover High School grad's got charisma. 27-year-old Robinson, who goes by the nickname Jay, is often the first person soldiers encounter once they head out of Fort Bragg at the Yadkin Road gate and pull into the first convenience store. He manages Scotchman Store 6508 at Yadkin and Brunswick Roads, a shout away from the Army gate. Chances are good that patrons will see him just inside, standing behind the counter as he pulls one of his long work shifts. Military personnel and neighborhood residents alike stop at the store to gas up the vehicles or grab lottery tickets, and there was something salty or sweet or a cold six-pack of beer to go. My whole thing with my staff, I try to promote like a family environment, he said. When you come in, you know us. We know your name, we know what you like, you know, things of that nature. And a short conversation, possibly, and then you go on out into your day with a smile, hopefully. On that, he raps the wall a couple of good times for good luck. His humor and the effortless way he delivers it brings to mind Dave Chappelle. He even sounds like a comedian at times. I try to facilitate people's day and put a smile on their face at least, he said from the cramped quarters of his office. The shopping experience, I try to make it pleasant, sometimes entertaining. I have fun. It was just stalking. I think it would suck. Suddenly, an older customer from inside the store yells out, "How you doing there, Jay?" He chuckles. She's one of his long-term regulars. "How you doing, Miss Tammy?" All right. Since 2013, Robinson has been employed with GPM Investments, LLC, a convenience store owner and operator. The Scotchman is a subsidiary. He moved up quickly, getting a start at the same Yadkin Road location as a sales associate, before being promoted to assistant manager and eventually the store manager. all within about 18 months. They do take care of me, he said, and I do my best to take care of the location. Originally from Hampton, Virginia, Robinson relocated at 16 to Vass in Moore County, where his family is from. His mother is Filipino. His father, who served in the Air Force, is African American. As a result of his father's service, the family moved around from time to time. Besides North Carolina, Robinson has lived in England, Virginia, and Oklahoma. That's why my horizons are so broad, he said with that familiar grin. Due to the fact I'm a mixed child, I've seen it all, he said. I've had all kinds of friends, both good and bad. I've been exposed to so many things. I don't see people in categories, because if we all say, if you cut your wrist, I cut my wrist, what color is it going to run? Red, no matter what. What makes us different? Age and gender, he continued with a little laugh. That's about it.
Letter to the editor. Black History to Remember. Every year during Black History, we are reminded in broadcast and print about the brutal Emmett Till murder. Till's accuser, Carolyn Bryant, eventually admitted that she lied, but not before her husband, Roy, and his half-brother, J.W. Millam, tortured, mutilated, and murdered Till. Bryant and Millam were acquitted, but admitted their guilt in an interview with Look magazine in 1956. Unarmed, Trayvon Martin was walking home from a store when he was murdered by a white supremacist vigilante posing as a community watch volunteer. Heavier armed George Zimmerman was acquitted and treated as a hero by conservative talk hosts, radio hosts, while they labeled Martin as a hooded thug attacker. Yes, a jury acquitted Zimmerman. Bryant and Mila were acquitted as well. Now, weren't they? Think about it. Please. Robert C. Curry, Jr. of Laurinburg.
Black Panther roars at box office by J. Cole, The Associated Press, New York. A wave of feverish anticipation, fawning critical acclaim, and groundbreaking cultural meaning pushed Black Panther to a record-setting $192 million debut in U.S. and Canadian theaters, firmly establishing the superhero sensation as a box office landmark. The Marvel film from the Walt Disney Company blew past expectations to become the fifth highest-grossing debut ever, not adjusting for inflation, following only Star Wars The Force Awakens, Star Wars The Last Jedi, Jurassic World, and The Avengers. An estimate Sunday, Disney predicted a 4-day holiday weekend of $218 million domestically and a global debut of $361 million. Through the film's international footprint, it doesn't include several of the largest markets, China, Russia, and Japan, but it still ranks among the top 15 global debuts ever. It's also the highest grossing February opening weekend. All hail the King of Wakanda, Disney declared, referring to the movie's mythical and highly advanced African nation. Ryan Coogler's film, which cost about $200 million to make, is the most expensive movie with a largely black ensemble and among the few to be centered on a black superhero. The strong opening suggests Black Panther will easily set a box office record for films directed by a black filmmaker. Ticket sales. Estimated ticket sales for Friday through Sunday at U.S. and Canadian theaters according to ComScore. And then at number 10 with $2 million is Samson. Number 9 is Winchester with $2.2 million. Number 8 is Maze Runner, The Death Cure with $2.5 million. Early Man came in at number 7 with $3.2 million. Greatest Showman is number 6 with $5.1 million. Number 5 is the 1517 to Paris, taking in $7.7 million. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, came in at number 4 with $7.9 million. 50 Shades Free took in $16.9 million for the number 3 spot. Peter Rabbit took in $17.3 million. And Black Panther came in at number 1 with $192 million.
Social Security. Work incentives are in the disability program. Tom Marginu. Question. I'm 57 years old and getting Social Security disability benefits. I understand I can work and make $46,000 and still keep my disability checks. But how much can I make when I reach 62? Answer. I'm afraid you really got things mixed up. The $46,000 figure you cite applies to retirees in the year they turn age 66, and nothing is going to change when you turn 62. So let me back up. The only reason you are getting disability benefits in the first place is because you have been deemed to be unable to work. Or, to put that another way, you are not getting Social Security disability just because you have a physical or mental impairment. You are getting those benefits because that impairment keeps you from working. That inability to work is the key to your eligibility for disability benefits.
Where's the outrage over Russia? Opinion piece by Jonah Goldberg. I'm confused. These days, nationalism is all the rage on the right. I put it in quotes because there are lots of different ideas of what nationalism means. Some of it is just rah rah USA #1 sloganeering. For others, nationalism is basically code for white identity politics. And for the so-called alt-right, it's not even code. The idea of a white ethno-state, and it is an idea, is something that I think we should think about in the sense of what could come after America. Richard Spencer, a leading alt-writer, has said, note the phrase after America. For that crowd, American patriotism, love for our creeds of liberty and devotion to the Constitution, is already a dead letter. Among intellectual conservatives, there is a much more elevated and defensible call for a renewed sense of national identity, one that is racially inclusive and rooted in American history and patriotism. For instance, my National Review colleagues Rich Lowry and Ramesh Ponnuru argued in a widely discussed essay last year that nationalism can be a healthy and constructive force. Since nationalistic sentiments also have wide appeal and durability, it would be wiser to cultivate that kind of nationalism and to attempt to move beyond it. That strikes me as entirely reasonable. While I'm skeptical about the utility of relying on nationalism as an organizing political idea, I have always believed that a liberal nationalism is necessary for a country to bind itself together and for citizens to feel that their nation is worth defending. Sustaining the long twilight struggle against the Soviet Union would have been impossible without some amount of nationalistic commitment, which is not to say that this sentiment couldn't boil over into hysteria from time to time. Moreover, without a literal nationalist sentiment, it's difficult to cultivate patriotism or assimilate immigrants into American culture. While many on the left are eager to blur the distinctions between the benign nationalism of Lowry et al. With the optimistic identity politics of Spencer and company, there's actually very little overlap between the two camps, except in two aspects. As an analytical matter, the nationalists insist that nationalism is the wave of the future, transforming politics around the globe, and they may be right. Second, and not unrelatedly, nationalists of all stripes have pinned some of their hopes on the idea that Donald Trump could serve as a useful champion for their particular kind of nationalism. Indeed, they are often quick to say that their real passion is for the nationalist cause and not the flawed vessel that is Trump. To be fair, National Review has issued stern editorials, but most of the rah-rah nationalists on cable, talk radio, and social media have been remarkably blasé about it, more interested in Hillary Clinton's misdeeds than those of a contemptuous foreign power. For some of the alt-right, silence is understandable. Many of them are simply fanboys or clients of Vladimir Putin. But at least part of this outrage lacuna must be attributable to the distorting effects of partisanship. The Russians didn't win the 2017 election for Trump, but the whole topic remains politically charged for him, and his refusal to squarely address this issue sends a powerful signal to his own party. So it gets downgraded to a mere technical challenge for the deep state to handle. And maybe that's the right course. But it does pose an interesting question. How powerful can nationalism be if it cannot overpower partisan loyalty? Jonah Goldberg is a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and a senior editor of National Review. You can email him at goldbergcolumn@gmail.com or via Twitter at Jonah NRO.
$1 million scoreboard approved. The upgraded Crown Coliseum is expected to enhance fans' experience by Steve Devane, staff writer. A county commissioners committee has given its approval to a $1 million scoreboard upgrade at the Crown Coliseum. The Commissioners Facilities Committee approved the move at its meeting Thursday. The full Board of Commissioners is expected to approve the new equipment at its meeting on Monday. The committee put off discussion of replacing the ice floor and the equipment that keeps it cold, hoping to find a cheaper option that wasn't under consideration. The county's capital improvement plan calls for the scoreboard to be replaced. The committee unanimously approved the move with little discussion. The existing scoreboard is antiquated and dysfunctional, according to a memorandum to commissioners from Jeffrey Brown, the county's engineering and infrastructure director. The new scoreboard, which will hang in the center of the Coliseum, and an LED ribbon light projection is expected to enhance the fan experience, the memo says. The project is expected to cost about $1.7 million, according to Brown's memo. The committee approved awarding the contract to Daktronics Incorporated, the memo says. Daktronics, which is based in South Dakota, offers electronic scoreboards in nearly any size and configuration according to its website. The Commissioners Committee also was scheduled to discuss a proposal to replace the ice floor and an ice rink chiller. The Commissioner, Michael Booth, asked that the discussion be taken off the committee's agenda. Booth said Saturday that the Crown's officials indicated they may have found a cheaper option. It's still going to get done, he said. The Fayeville Marksman hockey team, which is in the Southern Professional Hockey League, plays its home games at the Crown Coliseum. A separate memo from Brown to the commissioners said $1.5 million was originally budgeted for the project. That amount did not include demolition of the existing ice floor, removal of the existing chiller plant, or disposal costs, the memo said. The changes increased the estimate cost to $2.85 million according to the memo. This new budget amount will comprehensively address all items that are needed to ensure a safe and modern ice floor. It says, Rose said the cost was more than expected. When we got into it, it was more than we originally thought, he said. We're trying to get it done in the most cost-efficient manner. Staff writer Steve Devane can be reached at sdevane@fayobserver.com or 486-3572.
Their Nation helps middle schoolers experience Black Panther Pride by Myron B. Gibbs. Black Panther may be a fictional character. The pride he inspires in the African American community is real. It feels good, Elijah Bennett, 12, said before seeing the movie Friday evening. Because usually we don't see a black African American hero. The movie stars Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, aka the Black Panther, a superhero who is king of the fictional African nation of Wakanda. There have been black superheroes in film, rarely are they the marquee star, and none of their roles have been close to the scale of Black Panther, expected to be another worldwide blockbuster in the Marvel Studios' Avengers franchise. The movie features a mostly black, all-star cast including Oscar winner Lupita Nyong'o, Michael B. Jordan, and Angela Bassett, has generated buzz for its number of strong female roles. Several cast members are African, including John Finney, a South African who plays T'Challa's father and who lived under apartheid. He has said he did not cast his first vote until 1994 at the age of 51. Panther is enjoying mainstream success too, has pre-sold more tickets than all but 3 movies in the Star Wars series. Elijah was one of nearly 50 children in the Boys and Girls Club of Spring Lake. Got to see the movie free thanks to Craig Stokes, a Fayetteville native and California-based entertainer and motivational speaker. He organized a GoFundMe to raise more than $1,000 to treat the children. Stokes, a 1999 graduate of E.E. Smith High School, is the son of District Court Judge Stephen Stokes. I just think representation matters, he said by phone. It's a big deal. The movie is a positive representation of what people of color can become and how powerful we really already are. Stokes could not make it back east to attend the movie with children, but he arranged for friends to speak on his behalf. They were D.J. Dawson, his college fraternity brother and fellow Smith graduate, who works with youth, and Roxy Dwight Dawson, who is D.J. Dawson's mother and an author and motivational speaker. 2 of them spoke to the club members at Spring Lake Middle School before they all went to see a 6 p.m. showing at the AMC Fayetteville 14 Plus IMAX in Fayetteville. DJ and Roxy Dawson also showed a video of Stokes speaking. The adults imparted positive, uplifting messages to the children, as they fully expected the movie to reinforce. They noted that the movie not only featured a mostly black cast, but a black director, Brian Coogler, who directed the critically acclaimed Fruitvale Station. E.J. Dawson said the children should use Black Panther as a chance to think about what dreams they want to pursue and how to achieve them, as well as what kind of leaders they wanted to be. The thing that matters the most, E.J. Dawson said during his talk, is making good decisions. He called the movie a huge movement. This is a big moment for everyone. Roxy Dawson told the children that if Coogler and the cast and crew could make it to the big screen, then so can you. But she said they needed to not only have dreams, but stay woke so they could stay out of trouble, buckle down, and achieve them. She and E.J. Dawson led the kids in a motto that Stokes flashed on the screen of his video: dream bigger, get better. Samaj Parker, an 8th grader at Spring Lake Middle School, asked if the Spring Lake Club was the only one Stokes sponsored and was told yes. Afterward, he said, "It made me feel special." Talia Dorman, a 7th grader, spoke up when her children were asked what dreams they wanted to pursue. She said she wanted to join the military and be a medical surgeon. She later praised the Spring Lake Boys and Girls Club and its staff, led by Lana Tate, for being amazing and being there for the children. Sudden temperature drop and cloudy skies greeted the excited children as they arrived at the AMC Theater on Lake Valley Drive. Outside the theater, people were seen in colorful African-themed shikis, skirts, and head wraps. Some people were snapping each other's pictures in front of the Black Panther toaster. The staff at the AMC swapped out a large poster in the hallway inside for a Black Panther poster so the Boys and Girls Club children could take a group photo in front of it. Tate and her team helped get the laughing, antsy tweeners lined up in rows. Earlier, Elijah Bennett has said it was rare the club went to the movies. He said to be treated to Black Panther was great. "I'm looking forward to seeing some action," he said, to see if he's going to help the world, stuff like that. Columnist Myron B. Pitts can be reached at mpitts@fayobserver.com or call area code 910-486-3559.
Celebrating Black History. Chilly weather doesn't dampen enthusiasm at Black History Month Parade in New Bern by Charlie Hall. Saturday's Black History Parade brought out a crowd that stretched along a mile route, including Broad and George Streets on Saturday, despite the chilly weather. It culminated with vendors and a program featuring former World Boxing Association heavyweight champion James Bone Crusher Smith. "It's about Black history and my country," said Mary Moore, who was watching the parade near Queen Street with Marsha Simmons, a newborn high basketball star in the 1970s, who later went on to be a Hall of Fame inductee at NC A&T University. "Yes, it's about the heritage back in the day and what we didn't know, especially about people taking credit for things that African Americans did," Simmons said. Barbara Sproul of Durham, who grew up in James City and still spends some weekends at her late parents' home, has a vested interest in Black history. "I am into genealogy and have done lots of history on my family, she said, adding that in the past decade she has also been working on uncovering unknown history about James City and its people. James City was a massive location for free blacks from the Civil War. I have drafts for 3 books and enough material for 7, she said, adding that some of her topics included myths about black property owners selling their land and houses for a pittance, and about how blacks fought to get an education. One example was her grandfather, who graduated from our Christian college in 1900, but had to travel and live in Iowa to do so. The long parade, sponsored by Victor Taylor's Vision Forward, featured public officials and various black businesses and civic groups. Along the New Bern Young Marines, representatives from the Army, New Bern Police, and Fire and Rescue. Police Chief Toussaint Summers Jr., riding a police 3-wheeler, briefly slowed the parade several times when he stopped and hustled across Broad Street to hand out candy to children. Fire Chief Buddy Boyd was at the wheel of the open-air cockpit of the 1933 Leon Scott fire truck, which is the department's official parade vehicle. Former boxing champ Smith, who won the title over champ Tim Witherspoon in 1986, was the parade grand marshal. He said afterwards that he was in Newborn to honor Black history and also to promote his plans for permanent location for his Boxing Legends Hall of Fame that will be in Myrtle Beach, and also his planned mobile museum mentoring tour for youngsters. We want to get some sponsors, take that RV and go from town to town, and we're going to encourage kids to make good decisions, said the native of Magnolia in Dublin County. We want to encourage people, not just kids, to make good decisions, he says. Smith, who said he once trained under newborn Alderman Johnny Ray Kinsey, said it is the role of champions to mentor and role model to the young generations. There are some kids out there that are just as good or better than we were and don't even know it yet, he said. If we tell them they are and start working with them, then they will see. If we don't, they will take that frustration and that aggravation and they will go over there in that graveyard or in the prison. Anyone interested in Smith's mentoring program as a sponsor or for information can call him at 910-659-3408 or email bonecrusher8, that's the number 8, at AOL.com. The website is championsforkids.org. Another upcoming Black History Month event is Thursday, when Jones Middle School invites the public to join in a celebration honoring African Americans in time of war. The guest speaker will be the first VDG Lion Ryan Ray Shumari of Jacksonville New River Lions Club. Joe Brown and the band of New Bern will provide music for the people. According to History.co, Black History Month will begin as Negro History Week, created in 1926 by Carter G. Wilson, is a renowned African-American historian, scholar, educator, and publisher. It became a month-long celebration in 1976, with February chosen because of the birthday of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University. Our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our address is P.O. Box 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at area code 910-672-1600 or toll free at 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts are
Evelyn Simonette.
and Robert Keane, and we are proud to serve you today. It's the top of the hour, time for the obituaries. Death notices. Following deaths have been reported. Upcoming editions of the Fayeville Observer will contain complete obituary information. In Cumberland County, Thomas Marvin Vick III, 76 of Fayetteville, Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Caitlin Jamora Hillens, infant of Fayetteville, Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. James H. Holland, 86 of Fayetteville, Rogers and Reese Funeral Home. Marshall L. Thomas, 95 of Hope Mills, Wiseman Mortuary. In the Cape Fear region, Linda Horton Stevens, 63 of Irwin, Marty Miller Funeral Home. Dorothy M. Butler, 88 of Irwin, Skinner and Smith Funeral Home. In Cumberland County, Tisha Miller Henley, 64 of Hope Mills, entered heavenly peace surrounded by family February 16, 2018, for a long, courageous battle with cancer. Memorial service will be held at 3 p.m. Tuesday, February 20th, 2018, at Pinecrest Funeral and Cremation Services in Hope Mills. The family will receive friends 1 hour prior to the service at the funeral home. In lieu of flowers, the family has asked memorials to be made in her honor to Health Keepers Hospice, 4155 Fern Creek Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28314. Richard Thomas Walker II, 68 of Wade, passed away Thursday, February 15, 2018, and is home with his beloved family by his side. The funeral service will be Monday, February 19, 2018 at 11 a.m. at the Old Bluff Presbyterian Church in Godwin, with the Reverend Meg Lindsay Dudley officiating. Burial will follow the Old Bluff Presbyterian Church Cemetery. In lieu of flowers, memorials may be made to the Bluff Presbyterian Church Expansion Fund, the Old Bluff Presbyterian Church Tree Fund, P.O. Box 96, Wade, North Carolina, 28395. Arrangements by Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Olivia Parks, 78 of Fayetteville, died Monday, February 12, 2018. The funeral will be held Wednesday at noon at Shaw Heights, and the visitation will be at Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory Tuesday at 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. The burial will be at Sand Hills State Veterans Cemetery. Services are entrusted to Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory. Miss Alice Johnson, 74 of Fayetteville, died Friday, February 16, 2018. Funeral will be held Tuesday at noon at Harrison Creek in White Oak. The viewing will be at McCoy and Sons Mortuary Monday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. The burial will be at the church cemetery. Services are entrusted to McCoy and Sons Mortuary. George Glover, 76 of Fayetteville, died Saturday, February 17, 2018. Services are entrusted to Pay Funeral Home and Cremations. Region and elsewhere. Evelyn Purvat Warwick, 90 of Lumberton, died Saturday, February 17, 2018. Funeral will be held Tuesday at 3 p.m. at Zion Hill Baptist Church in Lumberton. The visitation will be at Floyd Mortuary and Crematory Monday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and the burial will be at Meadowbrook Cemetery. Services are entrusted to Floyd Mortuary and Crematory of Lumberton. Tori M. Yeomans, 48 of Austell, Georgia, formerly of Fayetteville, died Thursday, February 15, 2018. The funeral will be held Wednesday at 1 p.m. at the chapel. The viewing will be at the funeral home Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. Services are entrusted to Herring Funeral Care and cremations. Stephen Caleb Gabriel Borth, 22 of Fayetteville, died Friday, February 16, 2018. A memorial will be held Thursday at 2 p.m. at the Convergence Church, and the visitation will be at the Convergence Church Thursday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. services entrusted to Fayeville Cremation Services. That concludes today's obituaries.
Dear Abby, former Plain Jane becomes obsessed with her looks. Dear Abby, when I was in my teens and even into my 20s and 30s, I was a plain Jane. I had little self-confidence, but strangely, I'm one of those people who has gotten better looking as I've aged. Now, in my 50s, I'm better looking than many women my age or even younger. Men definitely notice me, and I love it. My problem is, I'm now obsessed with my appearance. I constantly worry that I'll lose my looks. I've even considered cosmetic surgery. I don't want to be the shallow person I see I'm becoming. What can I do? Late bloomer. Dear late bloomer, there's a saying, you can fool Mother Nature, but you can't fool Father Time. What it boils down to is time takes its toll on everyone. It isn't shallow to have the feelings you are experiencing, but please remember that beauty is more than what's on the surface. Perhaps it's time to start concentrating on qualities that accentuate your inner rather than external beauty. Kindness, warmth, intelligence, generosity, and appreciation for the value of others, because charm lasts longer than beauty. This is not to say I don't appreciate the value of cosmetic surgery. What can do wonders for a person's sagging ego. But your appearance should not be the focus of your life, because frankly, it isn't healthy. Dear Abby, I'm writing a response to the letter from Military Service Marker you printed on December 22nd. When my uncle, a military veteran, passed away, he was without a military service marker too. His two kids, my cousins, didn't bother to obtain one, probably out of sheer laziness. Feeling that it was important, I took the initiative and contacted the VA myself. I obtained the record of his honorable discharge, Form DD-214, and his death certificate. I filled out the appropriate paperwork, and my uncle got the marker to which he was entitled free of charge. It was delivered directly to the cemetery, and the only cost involved was the installation. It was well worth it, and I have never asked my cousins for a dime. I felt proud about having done something for a deserving vet. Bill B. in Missouri. Dear Bill, my thanks to you and to the scores of other readers who wrote to share this information with me. It is important to know that relatives of deceased military veterans can receive these military markers at no cost. Starting the process is as easy as contacting the cemetery, the VA, at www.cem.va.gov/HMM/ or a local VFW or American Legion post for assistance. Dear Abby, I need advice on whether to contact an old friend who backstabbed me for years with my former business partner. I'm trying to get back into the field, and this old friend is doing well now. He has a lot of contacts that could help me start my own company. I'm not sure if I should contact him because of what he did to me. Should I? Uncertain in California. Dear Uncertain, frankly, I think it would be a waste of time. Lepers don't usually change their spots. If you expect someone who backstabbed you once in business to become generous and helpful, you're dreaming. Find another way to network that you can't taint, that he can't taint, because if he can, he will. Readers can write to Dear Abby at dearabby.com or P.O. Box 6944, Los Angeles, California, 90069. Universal click.
Billy Graham. It's possible for science to strengthen your faith in God. J.K. writes, I don't see how anyone can be a scientist and still believe in God. I believe in God when science can explain everything that happens. I'm in high school and I hope to major in medical research when I get to college. The answer, your interest in science shouldn't keep you from believing in God. Not at all. Over the years, some of the most gifted people I've ever met were not only brilliant scientists, but also had a strong faith in God. When I asked them about this, almost without exception, they said that their scientific research actually had strengthened their faith in God. To them, the whole creation is a witness to God's power and wisdom. Even the human body, they pointed out, is a witness to God's love and concern. To believe that everything happened by chance, they said, takes far more faith than believing in God. The Bible says, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, His eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen. Romans chapter 1, verse 20. Now let me point you in another direction. Yes, we see God reflected in the world He created, but most of all, we see Him in Jesus Christ, who was God in human flesh. You want to know what God is like? Look at Jesus, His life, His death, His resurrection. And when you do, you'll not only realize that God exists, but He loves you and wants to come into your life. Don't let pride or anything else keep you from Christ. Instead, commit your life to Him and then ask Him to guide you and fill you with His love and compassion and joy. Christ, the Bible says, is truly the power of God and the wisdom of God. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 24. Readers can write to the Reverend Billy Graham at the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, 1 Billy Graham Parkway, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28201, or by calling 1-877-2-GRAHAM. The website for the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association is at billygraham.org.
Horoscope by Stella Wow. If you were born today, you are one of the more complex individuals born under your sign. It's not likely that anyone, say perhaps one or two very close special people, really knows the real you or can tell what makes you tick in any significant way. Pisces, February 19th through March 20th. You can expect to be dealing with something entirely new by day's end. Make sure that you are prepared to deal with any contingency. Aries, March 21st through April 19th. You can enjoy what comes today, even though some of it means you'll have more to do. They are the kinds of tasks that you look forward to. Taurus, April 20th through May 20th. Someone is reaching out to you, and this is a sign that something you've gotten used to is about to change. You're ready to go where it leads. Gemini, May 21st through June 30th. Information comes to you through unusual channels today, and you will have every reason to send it along when it's time. Cancer, June 21st through July 22nd. A deadline looms, but you don't feel any real pressure as a result because you've prepared yourself for this situation. You're ready. Leo, July 23rd through August 22nd. You don't want to get caught up in a difference of opinion today. You can respect another's views and still maintain yours quite well. Virgo, August 23rd through September 22nd. You must think about what is appropriate today as you plan what to do in response to something unexpected that comes your way. Don't overreact. Libra, September 23rd through October 22nd. The rules are changing, and you're going to have to change as a result. Begin by considering what others have expected of you in the past. Scorpio, October 23rd through November 21st. Something used to please you is likely to leave you a little cold today. But that's to be expected, as other things are changing too. Sagittarius, November 22nd through December 21st. You're not likely to jump on the bandwagon today, choosing instead to remain aloof as you continue to pursue private goals. Capricorn, December 22nd through January 19th. The impression you give today will make all the difference as you try to forge a new working relationship with someone. Aquarius, January 20th through February 18th. Something you learned long ago is only now becoming truly applicable to your personal situation. Expect improvements.
What happened to Mariah Woods? Details regarding Tyler's death sealed despite homicide arrest by Micah Pugh, the Daily News. More questions than answers remain in the ongoing investigation into the death of Mariah Woods. Even though authorities have chosen Officer Earl Kimry, the live-in boyfriend of Mariah's mother, Christy Woods, with murder, details on what led investigators to Kimry are uncertain. The details and evidence are contained in search warrants and affidavits, sealed by a judge and kept under lock and key at the Onslow County Clerk of Court's office. Court officials told the Daily News late Friday that search warrants related to the case would be unsealed before March 1st. According to the University of North Carolina School of Government's NC Superior Court Judge's Bench Book, arrest and search warrants become public records once they have been served by law enforcement and returned to the clerk unless they are sealed by court order. There is no state statute that provides guidance on when warrants should be sealed. Shielding information. When investigators choose to shield information, names, places, and/or objects of interest in the early stages of an investigation, law enforcement officials consult with the district's attorney office for guidance and direction. 4th Prosecutorial District Attorney Ernie Lee has been providing investigators with counsel directions for more than 30 years. The last data was as the elected district attorney for Onslow, Jones, Duplin, and Sampson counties. Either the state or law enforcement would petition a judicial official, Lee said, which could be a magistrate or judge. That magistrate or judge would then be the one to determine whether a document will be sealed, and is also the one who could place a limit on the length of time a warrant can be sealed. Search warrants are sealed in certain cases in order to not prejudice the pending investigation and to prevent information being made public that could jeopardize the investigation, Lee wrote in an email response to the Daily News. Lee said that search warrants are also sealed in order to protect and ensure the defendant's right to a fair trial. On the first day of the search for Mariah, investigators from the Onslow County Sheriff's Office petitioned Senior Resident Superior Court Judge Charles H. Henry to seal documents, applications, and affidavits with no expiration date specified. The request is written by hand in a logbook in the district court clerk's office in Jacksonville. Henry was approached by OCSO investigators every day during the first 4 days of the Woods investigation requesting documents be sealed. Each time, law enforcement officers petitioned the court to seal sensitive documents and were granted their request. At the beginning stages of a criminal investigation in which we had suspicions, we were looking at several different scenarios. There was so much gray area. We realized we can only do this one time, Onslow County Sheriff Hans Miller told the Daily News. The backstory. December of 2007, both Lee and Henry were involved in the high-profile missing person turned murder case involving a pregnant Marine. The Marine Maria Lauterbach murder case became a national story, much like Mariah Woods, whose story tugged on the national heartstrings of millions around the world. Green was found guilty in the death of the 8-month pregnant Lauterbach and is currently serving a life without parole sentence at Tabor Correctional Institute. Green became a person of interest in Lauterbach's death and fled to Mexico, where he hid out for months before being captured and extradited back to North Carolina. He was able to stay abreast on the investigation through social media and news outlets' websites, who were able to view search warrants after they were signed and served. The Green case really caused us to look at the whole the sealed warrant issue, Henry said. Henry drafted guidelines and procedures to follow when law enforcement requests to seal or redact an arrest or search warrant, a search warrant application, a search warrant affidavit, an inventory of items seized pursuant to a search warrant, or other similar court documents. One Henry drafted on February 28, 2011, and eventually filed with the clerk's office the following week, was a 15-step roadmap on procedures and timeframes used from the point at which a document used in an investigation is sealed until they are vacated. Between the homicide investigations of Lauterbach and Woods were several other cases that led to sealed documents, including the July 7th homicide investigation into the death of former OCSO deputy William Clifton. On the same day Clifton was found shot to death, Jacksonville Police Department Detective Ronnie Dorn petitioned the court to seal search warrants to maintain the integrity of the investigation, stating Caitlin Ridgway is expected in the connection with Mr. Clifton's death. However, there are still many issues that need to be addressed. Will James Welch Jr.'s name surfaced soon after Ridgway's, and both were eventually charged with murder, Welch on July 14th and Ridgway on July 25th. Search warrants in connection with the case, which listed descriptions of the crime scene, movements of suspects, and items seized, were sealed for 13 years. We need to keep watch. Narrowly tailored requirements mean a warrant shouldn't be sealed if portions of the warrant can be redacted to protect the privacy of an individual or entity. Amanda Martin is a law partner at Stevens, Martin, Vaughn, and Tatich, PLLC in Raleigh, and serves as general counsel to the North Carolina Press Association, a membership organization of approximately 150 North Carolina newspapers. Martin said warrants are by definition public records when they are returned, unless sealed by the courts. There are no set guidelines when, how, or the duration of the seal should be, she added. It's fairly standardless, Martin said. Search warrants allow authorities enormous control over those named in the document. Police have immense power to come into someone's home, open the trunk of someone's car, make someone empty their pockets. The power of a search warrant is extremely invasive, Martin said. Martin is a strong advocate of openness, but also understands the need to protect an ongoing investigation. As a society, we need to keep watch. Information must be kept public, Martin said. On the other hand, there could be a time when an investigation could be at risk. As a society, we would like the police to conduct their investigation without being ruined. We rely on the courts. Miller said even though more than 70 days have passed since Mariah's body was recovered and nearly 3 weeks since Kimbry has been charged with murder, the case remains open, but OCSO is keeping the warrants sealed. They're sealed because the investigation is still ongoing, Miller said. We weigh the need for the public's right to know against the need to keep information confidential in this ongoing investigation. Reporter Mike McHugh can be reached by calling area code 910-219-8455 or by emailing mike.mchugh, M-C-H-U-G-H, at jdnews.com.
State prisons reconsider striking pregnant inmates. In Raleigh, North Carolina, police policies that call for pregnant inmates to be shackled to a hospital bed while in labor could be revised soon. After a complaint about the practice, the review comes after Sister Song, an Atlanta-based organization that promotes reproductive rights for women of color and groups from North Carolina, sent a letter to the State Department of Public Safety questioning treatment of 2 unnamed inmates. The North Carolina Department of Public Safety prohibits the use of shackling during delivery, and yet in recent weeks, at least 2 people from the North Carolina Correctional Institute for Women were restrained throughout their laboring process at a local medical center, the coalition of organizations stated. This was in spite of the concerns of the medical staff and the fact that it was in violation of NC Department of Public Safety written policies and legal precedent. Pamela Walker, a spokeswoman for the State Department of Public Safety, said Friday that a review had been launched shortly after Sisterhood notified prison officials. Prison workers sought more information, but had not identified who the inmates were, nor been able to get many more details about the experiences of the women. The Department of Public Safety Division of Prisons takes very seriously the health and well-being of the individuals confined within our facilities and appreciates the advocacy groups bringing to our attention their concerns regarding policies and practices specific to pregnant inmates, Walker said in a statement earlier this week. Last year, there were 81 inmates who delivered babies while incarcerated. Pregnant offenders housed in the county jails routinely are sent to North Carolina Correctional Institution for Women in Raleigh. Once the child is born, the mother can bond with the baby as long as the mother is in the hospital, Walker said. Once the offender is discharged from the hospital to return to prison, the individual designated by the inmate in her baby plan to be the caretaker will come to the hospital and take custody of the child. There are currently 50 pregnant offenders housed in the state prison system, Walker said. Inmates can be restrained while in childbirth. Policy that dates back to 2015 states that the inmate shall not be restrained while in delivery, she added. But delivery is a medical term, Walker said, and precisely when that means the restraint should come off is not spelled out in the policy. That will be reinforced in the new policy anticipated to be instituted soon, she said. Prison officials are consulting with the Federal Bureau of Prisons, the National Commission of Correctional Healthcare, and the American Correctional Association to help develop a revised policy that will balance the well-being and safety of the pregnant inmate with the safety and security of our officers, medical staff, and public at large, Walker said. There has been a global movement in recent years to end the shackling of pregnant prisoners and offer better treatment in general to female inmates. Last year, the Bureau of Prisons announced that feminine hygiene products had to be provided to inmates free of charge. A group of Democratic senators introduced the Dignity for Incarcerated Women Act, which would ban the shackling of pregnant women. More than 20 states have passed that prohibit the shackling of people in childbirth. Sister Song Representative Amasay Bernie Scott said when calling attention to the North Carolina complaint. Neither the inmates nor healthcare workers contacted Sister Song directly, so it was not clear who the inmates were or which hospitals they were in. Among the states that have restricted shackling, Bernie Scott said, none has any documented instances of people in labor escaping or causing harm to themselves, the public, security guards, or medical staff. Some people of color overrepresented in the prison system. This issue falls hardest on people who already struggle with health disparities and higher rates of pregnancy complications and maternal mortality, Bernie Scott says. Sister Song and other representatives of the coalition praised North Carolina prison officials for reviewing the policy. Advocates will continue to work to ensure not only that the policy around shackling during labor is enforced, but to make sure that people are supported during postpartum recovery and that we can improve the access to adequate care and services to promote the health and dignity of people who are incarcerated. Coalition representatives said in a statement, we will also work to push for the training of staff so that the policies are consistently enforced. Walker said she did not know how long the review would take, but expected policy changes to be announced soon.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayeville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our address is P.O. Box 35029, Fayeville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at area code 910-672-1600 or toll free at 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts are
Beverlyn Simonet.
and Robert Keane, and we are proud to serve you today. Russian trolls worked hard to blend in at Agency by Anton Troyanovsky, Rosalind S. Helderman, Ellen Nakashima, and Craig Timberg, The Washington Post. Not long after Marat Mendeyarev started working at the Internet Research Agency, the Russian troll factory indicted by the U.S. Justice Department on Friday, we began hearing about the coveted Facebook department. There, workers could earn more money and work alongside a younger, hipper crowd. To gain entry, job candidates had to prove they could seamlessly insinuate themselves into the American political conversation. The English language test, which Mendeyarev said he took in December of 2014, included a question about vegetarianism, another about Hillary Clinton, and the prospect that the Democratic frontrunner would win the U.S. presidential election. Mendeyarev, 43, and a teacher by training, heard that Clinton had a good chance of winning and that it would be a remarkable feat making her the country's first female president. His bosses were not impressed. Didn't pass the test, the woman who administered the exam told him later that day, he said, but it wasn't clear if his shortcoming was imperfect English or failing to bash Clinton. Either way, Mendeyarev remained stuck with the less glamorous job of commenting on articles posted to Russian websites and quit 3 months later from a job he compared to something from 1984, dystopian novel by George Orwell. Your first feeling when you ended up there was that you were in some kind of factory that turned lying, telling untruths into an industrial assembly line, Mendeyarev said. Accounts of Mendeyarev and other former Russian trolls, along with a National Security Agency assessment and details from the 37-page indictment against the Internet Research Agency, 2 other companies, and 13 individual Russian associates, underscore the sophistication and ambition of a program that only now is coming into focus 4 years after its creation. The secretive, multi-million-dollar disinformation campaign, which U.S. officials said was called the Translator Project, sought to undermine Clinton, bolster Donald Trump, and turn Americans against each other, all from the removal of thousands of miles away in an office building in St. Petersburg. Allegedly leading this effort was Russian oligarch Yevgeny Prigozhin, often called Putin's chef because of his close ties to President Vladimir Putin. U.S. intelligence officials concluded in December that Putin's top aides had to approve, if not directly oversee, Prigozhin's operation, according to a classified NSA report, parts of which were shared with the Washington Post. The NSA report also said that the Internet Research Agency, which ran online disinformation campaigns in Russia itself and in foreign nations such as Ukraine and the United States, used polls from American organizations to identify issues important to voters here. The tentacles of the Translator Project reached deeply into American political life as at least 80 employees of the Internet Research Agency worked with unwitting Trump supporters to organize rallies, stoke concerns about Clinton's honesty and health, and suppress the turnout of key voting blocs, including African Americans, according to the indictment by Special Counsel Robert Mueller III. The campaign unfolded in a way that largely evaded public notice at the time, as Russians used American social media platforms, American payment systems, and stolen American identities, birth dates, and social security numbers to infiltrate American debate at its most unpredictable and intense. The Russians involved in the campaign executed it with almost perfect pitch, learning to mimic the way Americans talk online about politics so well that real Americans with whom they interacted found them in no way suspicious. Such deception did not happen by accident. Russian trolls worked hard to sound like Americans and camouflage their political messages and other content. The first order of business was not to be unmasked, said Ludmila Sobchak, 36, a former employee of the International Research Agency who, like Mendeyarev, was not among those named in the indictment. Their top specialty was to slip political ideas inside a wrapping that was as human as possible. Prosecutors allege that the operation was launched in May of 2014 before U.S. political figures had formally declared their candidacies, giving the Russians time to master how ordinary Americans think and talk and what they like and dislike. The trolls compiled reports on internet metrics similar to those used by many American companies to figure out which Russian-created memes and posts were viewed and shared most and by whom. Those working on the disinformation campaign paid particular attention to what issues would outrage Americans, making them more likely to go to the polls and which were likely to cause them to grow disillusioned and stay home. Russian trolls were even provided with a list of American holidays, prosecutors said, so they could craft appropriate content to follow the rhythms of an American year. All of this ran through an operation that closely resembled a modern American campaign with budgets, data analysts, and design teams. Trolls received guidance on the ratio of text to graphics and post, how to effectively use video, and how to manage multiple accounts for maximum impact.
Florida shooting survivors lash out at Trump. Students who escaped the deadly school shooting in Florida focused their anger Sunday at President Donald Trump, contending that his response to the attack has been needlessly divisive. You're the president. You're supposed to bring this nation together, not divide us, said David Hall, a 17-year-old student at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in South Florida, speaking on NBC's Meet the Press. How dare you, he added. Hall was responding to Trump's tweet Saturday that Democrats hadn't passed any gun control measures during the brief time they controlled Congress with a supermajority in the Senate. Trump also alluded to FBI's failure to act on tips that the suspect was dangerous while bemoaning the Bureau's focus on Russia's role in 2016 election. Trump was on his Florida estate Sunday, but did not mention the attack in a series of tweets. After more than a day of criticism from the students, the White House said the president would hold a listening session with unspecified students on Wednesday and meet with the state and local security officials on Thursday. There's a photo of Tatiana Hobson and Anna Hobson and Leilani Kennett, six in front of Marjorie Stoneman High School in Parkland. Florida politicians, meanwhile, scrambled to produce legislation in response to February 14th attack that killed 17 people. Nicholas Cruz, a 19-year-old who had been expelled from the school, is being held without bail in the Broward County Jail, accused of 17 counts of first-degree murder. In a TV interview, Republican Senator Marco Rubio embraced the Democratic bill in the Florida legislature to allow courts to temporarily prevent people from having guns if they are determined to be a threat to themselves or others. Governor Rick Scott, also a Republican, attended a prayer vigil at the First Church, Coral Springs, a few blocks from the shooting site. He is expected to announce a legislative package with GOP leaders of the legislature this week. Emma Gonzalez, another student who survived the attack, cited Trump, Rubio, and Scott by name in a warning to politicians who are supported by the NRA. Now is the time to get on the right side of this, because this is not something that we are going to let sweep under the carpet, she said on Meet the Press. The students' pointed comments are the latest signs of increased pressure for gun control after the massacre. The students have vowed to become the face of a movement for tighter firearm regulations and plan to visit the state capitol in Tallahassee this week to demand immediate action. They are also calling for anti-gun violence demonstrations in Washington and other cities on March 24. Organizers behind the Women's March and the anti-Trump and female empowerment protest call for a 17-minute nationwide walkout by teachers and students on March 14th. The Network for Public Education and Advocacy Organizations for Public Schools announced the day of walkouts, sit-ins, and other events on school campuses on April 20th, the anniversary of the 1999 shooting at Columbine High School in Colorado that left 12 students and 1 teacher dead. Not every student at the Florida school was calling for more gun control. James Caramello, a freshman in the school's JROTC program on Friday, paused at a memorial in a park in front of a photo of one victim, 15-year-old Peter Wayne, another JROTC student who was killed after holding open a door so others could escape. He's just messed up, Sierra Mello said Cruz, who was also in JROTC. Tighter gun control, it's not going to help. There's always a way around it. School and government records obtained Sunday show Cruz was diagnosed developmentally delayed at age 3 and had disciplinary issues dating to middle school. In February 2014, while in 8th grade, Cruz was transferred to a special school for children with emotional and behavioral issues. He stayed there until 10th grade when he was transferred to Stowe Douglas. A month after arriving, Cruz was written up for using profanity. Last year, Cruz was expelled. On September 28, 2016, an investigator from the Florida Department of Children and Families visited Cruz and his mother, Linda Cruz, after he posted video and Snapchat showing him cutting himself. The report showed that Cruz had written a racial epithet against African Americans and Nazi symbols on his book bag, which his mother had forced him to erase. The investigator said Cruz was suffering from depression and on medication and had told Linda Cruz he planned to buy a gun, but she couldn't determine why. She said he had been depressed after breaking up with a girlfriend who had been cheating on him. The investigator said a school counselor told the investigator that Linda Cruz had always tried to help her son and follow through on his therapy and medication, but the counselor was concerned about the youth's desire to buy a gun. The crisis counselor told the DCF investigator he had visited the school and that he did not believe Cruz was a danger to himself or others. The case was closed, with the investigator concluding that Cruz was receiving help from his mother and counselors, and no other referrals or services were needed. After Linda Cruz died in November, Cruz moved into the home of a teenage friend. The friend's parents told the Sun-Sentinel newspaper that they had no idea the extent of Cruz's issues. We had this monster living under our roof and we didn't know. Kimberly Sneed told the newspaper in an interview published Sunday, "We didn't see this side of him." James Sneed added, "Everything everybody seems to know, we didn't know." It's as simple as that. The Sneed said Cruz seemed unable to do even simple tasks like laundry or use the microwave. He kept the AR-15 he allegedly used in the massacre locked in a gun safe with a few other firearms. James Sneed thought he had the only key to the cabinet, but says Cruz must have had another key. The family kept their own rifles bought after a burglary a few years ago in a separate locked cabin. They told Cruz he needed to ask permission to take out the gun. He had asked only twice since November. They said yes once and no once. On Wednesday morning, Cruz told them he didn't need a ride to school. It's Valentine's Day, and I don't go to school on Valentine's Day, he said. Cruz sent their son a few texts that day. In one, he asked what classroom the boy was in. He said he was going to see a movie. Later he texted he had something important he wanted to tell the team. Then he wrote, "Nothing, man."
Little known investor gives millions to NC Politics by Gary D. Robertson, Associated Press, Raleigh. North Carolina's newest and biggest political spender is a private investment firm founder and a virtual unknown in state politics who's saying little for now about his reasons for quickly giving millions to help influence elections. Greg Lindbergh, founder and chairman of Durham-based Eli Global, gave more than $3.4 million to state campaign and independent expenditure committees last year, according to campaign finance reports. Lindbergh's donations make him the highest donor in state politics. Associated Press analysis shows donations come as North Carolina legislative and court races receive national attention from out-of-state donors. Former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder is leading a group targeting North Carolina House and Senate races this fall with the hope of taking back the chambers held by Republicans most of this decade before the next redistricting begins in 2021. More than $40 million was spent on the 2016 governor's race by the campaigns of Cooper and Republican incumbent Pat McCrory. Republicans are eager to win the post back in 2020. Almost all of Lindbergh's 17 donations went to 3 Republican-leaning groups. The total is more than what was raised by either major political party in the state or Democratic Governor Roy Cooper that year, mostly a non-election year except for municipal races. A lot of that money could wind up helping Lieutenant Governor Dan Forrest, a Republican hoping to challenge Cooper in 2020. Lindbergh also previously gave donations totaling 6 figures to a group designed to help a key Democrat whose department regulated an industry that includes companies owned by Lindbergh's firm. Lindbergh was by far the state's top giver in 2017, based on the AP's analysis of data from the State Elections Board website showing identified donors and their contributions to candidate, party, and independent committees. The numbers didn't include contributions of $50 or less. Committees aren't required to make those donors' names public. It's eye-popping the amount of money that he's laying out, said Bob Hall, the recently retired executive director of election reform group Democracy North Carolina. The next highest donor is a legislative candidate, loaning his own campaign $500,000. Lindbergh, 47, is largely unknown outside the business realm. Past and present campaign consultants in the state declined to comment about him or said they didn't know much about him. "I've not met him. I've not come across his name before as a donor," said Scott Laster, a former executive director at the state Republican Party, an ex-political strategist for state House Republicans. Some details emerged from a biography on Lindbergh's website chronicling his leadership of a company that's closed more than 100 acquisitions since 2001. The biography calls Lindbergh the proud founder of his California high school's newspaper and a strong believer in the freedom of the press. The company spokesman said Lindbergh isn't doing news interviews now. Lindbergh attorney Eric Tulin said in a statement that his client will continue to support in a nonpartisan way candidates that are in tune with the issues affecting North Carolina businesses and its citizens. Mr. Lindbergh has given to organizations that support strong candidates on both sides of the aisle. Records show Lindbergh is registered as unaffiliated and voted in North Carolina's 2016 general election, but not in a party primary. Lindbergh's biography identifies him as a bootstrap entrepreneur who isn't interested in selling companies Eli Global has invested in, ranging from healthcare software provider iCare Leaders to sports card collectible company Beckett Media. "We partner with great leaders and step out of their way," Lindbergh is quoted as saying. His biography said he founded a political satire magazine while attending Yale University, in which he created a newsletter for home health agencies that became the basis for Eli Global. After making a few smaller political donations this decade, Lindbergh's giving soared in 2016 when he sent $350,000 to the independent NC Opportunity Committee, as ran ads supporting Wayne Goodwin, then the state's Democratic Insurance Commissioner. Several insurance companies and acquisitions are included in Eli Global's portfolio. Goodwin's re-election campaign also received nearly $10,000 from Lindbergh during 2016, according to campaign reports. Republican Mike Causey, who defeated Goodwin in November 2016, said his campaign decided to return a $5,000 Lindbergh donation last year out of abundance of caution because Lindbergh has 5 companies regulated by the department. I was not familiar with him until I became insurance commissioner, Causey said. Goodwin's now the state Democratic Party chairman. Last year, Lindbergh gave the state Republican Party $890,000, making him that party's largest individual donor in 2017. He gave a total of $2.4 million to the Republican Council of State Committee, an organization backing GOP candidates for executive statewide office, and Truth and Prosperity, which promoted Forrest during his winning 2016 re-election campaign. Lindbergh's were the only donations the groups received in 2017. Giving large sums to influence down-ballot races isn't unusual in North Carolina. More than $5 million was spent on a state Supreme Court race in 2016, according to a Brennan Center for Justice report. That's why Lindbergh gave so much. Forrest's top political aides referred the question to Lindbergh. Current state GOP Executive Director Dallas Woodhouse also declined to discuss Lindbergh, but said donors to the party can be motivated by one thing: to elect a broad swath of Republicans to office, because that is all we do and all we are capable of doing.
Hashtag MeToo movement inspires mom to seek charges. For the longest time, Empress Release accepted other people's impressions of her. She was, in their eyes, a promiscuous whore, a nymphomaniac. The problem with that is she may never have had a choice in the matter. Most 5-year-olds know their address and phone number. They can recognize most letters of the alphabet and they can count. But they don't just decide one day to have sex in the back seat of their father's car with their father's friend. If the hashtag MeToo movement has taught us anything, it is this: children are ill-equipped to process such a crime, let alone report it. Empress Release was no different, and she says she's suffered every day since. At least now at age 25, she's starting to try to work her way out of the darkness and seek justice. It's time. It might not have been, had it not been for those 2 simple words, Me Too, that began appearing late last year on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter feeds. The hashtag by activist Tariana Burke and popularized by actress Alyssa Milano spread like fire as women across the country and around the world began to share their stories of sexual harassment and assault. If all the women who have been sexually harassed or assaulted wrote Me Too as a status, we might give people a sense of magnitude of the problem, Milano wrote in a tweet that went viral. Release took notice. I saw these women coming forward and thought, if they could come forward after 20 years, maybe I could too, she said. I'm not a celebrity. I'm just a regular person. I went through it too. According to Release, her story began at age 5 in her father's car, but it would not end until well into her teens. After that first encounter, she said, she found herself doing it to other children her age. What had been done to her? As a matter of fact, it seemed like all the kids were doing it with each other. The Marietta mother of 3 said, when caught, they were punished, but no one cared to find out who taught them that to them. Release alleges that on October 31st, 2006, at the age of 13, she was drugged and then gang raped. When she shared her truth with a man she trusted later that same day, he raped her. 2, she has claimed, I don't know why you thought you were going to be a free ride home. You were going to get a free ride home. He reportedly told her after. A relative who happened to be the man's girlfriend tape-recorded Empress recounting the tale and then played it for her father. He thought I was just having sex with these guys, she said. I was grounded and I left it at that. I never talked about it again. I still haven't fully grasped it as rape. I don't even know how to explain it or what to call it. I was 13 and I knew and trusted these people. The next year, she and her father moved here from Antigua, where the abuse is said to have happened. But nothing really changed, and by 15, she was pregnant. Family members believed she was just a rebellious teen. Release began to see herself the way they did. They said I was a whore, she said. I decided that I was a nymphomaniac. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys experienced some form of sexual abuse before the age of 18. And 80 to 90% of the prostituted females have a history of sexual or physical abuse, according to Marta Martinez Hasty, a licensed therapist and vice president of the board of directors of Christie House, a Miami-based nonprofit dedicated to healing and eradicating childhood sexual abuse.
Okay, tonight on television, PBS Channel 4 from 8 to 9 Antiques Roadshow from St. Louis, 9 to 9:30 Black Issues Forum, HBCU Legacy, 10 to 11 Independent Lens, featuring black colleges and universities. NBC from 8, or beginning at 8, the 2018 Winter Olympics Live. ABC from 8 to 10, The Bachelor. From 10 to 11, A Good Doctor. A&E Channel 21 from 8 to 9, Waco, Madman or Messiah. And from 9 to 11, Warren Jeffs, Prophet of Evil, The Investigation of the Religious Leader. AMC Channel 41 from 7:30 to 10, Uncle Buck. And beginning at 10, a 3-star movie, Airplane. Discovery Channel, Channel 42, from 8 to 11, 3 back-to-back episodes of Outlaws. TVN Channel 68, from 8 to 9, The History of Resistance. From 9 to 9:30, The Richest. 9:30 to 10, Jesse Duplantis. 10 to 10:30, Billy Graham. From 10:30 to 11, Greg Laurie. TBS Channel 24, from 8 to 10, 4 back-to-back episodes of Family Guy. 10 to 11, 2 back-to-back episodes of American Dad. Turner Classic Movies Channel 54, from 8 to 10, The Great Lie. Beginning at 10, The VIPs. And the Learning Channel from 8 to 11, 3 back-to-back episodes of Hoarding. This concludes our reading. The Monday Fayeville Observer, your radio host have been
Beverlyn Simonette
and Robert Bean. Stay tuned for the Sunday edition of the Fayeville Observer. We've enjoyed being with you this morning. Thank you for tuning us in. Have a wonderful day.
You beat the clock. You're good.